What if we lived in a two-dimensional universe? If the universe had only two spatial dimensions, length and breadth, with no height or depth, the laws of physics would be drastically different. This fundamental change would have profound implications for the nature of space, time, forces, and even the possibility of life. In a 2D universe, there would be no concept of depth. Everything would be flat, like living on a sheet of paper. Beings, objects, and environments would have only two dimensions to move within, forward or backward and left or right. There would be no up or down. In our 3D universe, gravity pulls objects towards each other in all directions. But in a 2D world, gravity would work differently because there's no up or down. It would spread out only across a flat surface, which could make it weaker. Planets, as we know them, might not even form because they wouldn't be able to hold themselves together. Without a third dimension, objects would only be able to approach one another from two directions, forward or backward. This could prevent orbits from forming as they do in 3D space, making it hard for stable planetary systems or star systems to exist. Electromagnetic forces, like light and magnetism, would also follow different rules. Without the ability for charges or fields to spread out in 3 dimensions, the behavior of these forces would be altered, possibly preventing the kind of stable atomic structures, like those found in 3D atoms, that are necessary for chemistry and life. Complex life forms like humans or animals might be impossible to exist in a 2D universe. In a 3D world, we have complex organs packed into our bodies, arranged in layers. In 2D, there's no room for layers or overlapping structures. For example, a 2D creature would not be able to have an internal digestive system because any hole or tube inside their body would cut them into separate pieces. Circulatory systems, digestive systems, or any other internal pathways needed to sustain life would either split the organism apart or fail to function. Life might have to consist of very simple, single-layered organisms, if it were possible at all. Even biological reproduction would be complicated. In 3D space, two organisms can come together and exchange genetic material. In 2D, it's not clear how organisms would line up properly for reproduction or how their bodies would interact. The laws of motion and fluid dynamics would also change dramatically. In 3D, objects can move in all directions, and fluid dynamics allow for complex flows of liquids and gases. In 2D, motion would be much more limited, and the behavior of fluids would be greatly simplified. For instance, in a 2D world, air, if it existed, would not flow around objects the way it does in 3D. It would either be squeezed to one side or completely obstructed. This could make processes like breathing or aerodynamics impossible or very different from what we experience.